Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Topline. I'm Marti Bledsoe Post, the founder of Apparently. And just like you, I am a working parent with a long to-do list and a short attention span. That's why this show, every week when we talk to a working parent, we keep it short and sweet and find out how they're managing on the front lines of family and career. My guest this week is Tauna Batiste. Hi, Tauna.
Thanks for
Welcome.
having me.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Thanks for being here. Let's start by having everyone understand just what your scenario is like right now with work and family.
All right, so I am a budding entrepreneur. I'm launching a few brands this week, so it's been
Oh,
a
wow.
crazy week for me. I am the wife of Tremaine, and I have two boys, Andrew and Alex, that are 1 and 6, and we are all currently at home
Okay.
in the same house, hanging out. We have been since March. In my previous role, I traveled quite a bit nationally. I ran an international nonprofit. And so we went from me on the road 25 days between January and the first week of March to me home every single day.
Wow.
So we'll talk a little bit about it later, but my first night away, or just day away really, from my family was this 2 weeks ago. So we've been just kind of hanging out, hunkering down,
Mhm.
and seeing how it's going to go. So
So does your 6-year-old do online classes?
we decided to full-time homeschool him. I thought it was a better situation and solution for us. He's in first grade, so there's a lot of flexibility. And I was homeschooled as a child, so I knew what to expect. There are a ton of resources out there, but it's really working out. I asked him the other day, how do you feel about homeschool? Do you miss going to school? And he's like, well, I don't like COVID, but I like homeschool and I want to stay in homeschool. And so uh, it's a good plan since we're going to be here for a while.
Well,
I'm
kudos to
sure
you
he's
guys.
so
That means you're
social.
you're killing it then.
Oh, thanks. We'll try and I don't know about killing it, but we are definitely keeping. He's learning things, so there. And you can kind of see behind me. We now share an office.
I love
So
it.
this is the class office. I get this corner. He gets the rest of the room.
Mhm.
Um, but it's going really well, better than I had hoped. And it's really been um, because we haven't been constrained by some of the things that I know my friends are kind of bound to as far as timelines and things. We've been able to find some joy in just exploring our world. And he's at that great age where they're just learning so much. And so we've just been kind of following his lead and learning about different things. And he's very excited about hurricanes. We're doing a unit on weather, and so he'll tell you all of the facts about hurricanes, the eye, and all of those things.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I've loved watching him learn, um, and so that's been a hidden gem in all of this craziness.
Yeah. So how does that work though? Are you building lesson plans each week or is your husband leading the homeschool
I
effort?
am. So we co-teach. So I
Okay.
have an amazing partner. I certainly think back to RGB, and I'm like, yes, yes, I found that one.
Yes.
And so we co-teach. I have a background in youth programming. And so I develop some curriculum for us every couple weeks. We do a new unit and we just tie everything into that. And so we found a way to kind of make it work for us. But I teach on Mondays and Thursdays, and he teaches on Tuesdays and Fridays. We take Wednesdays off to regroup. And we just come up with different activities. But I am starting, now that I'm getting busier with work,
Yeah.
I am going to be hiring a homeschooling coach
Okay.
who will help me. Like, I'll still come up with some of the ideas, but she'll take care of putting together all the resources and things for me. So if people are looking for that, please connect with me. I will be happy to pass on her information, even for virtual. There's things that you need and you don't know where to find. And why spend the time when someone else can make that happen for you? So
Sure.
yeah.
So you're doing all this with a 1-year-old running around the house?
Yes, that's why we teach on opposite days so that we can
Just want to make sure I'm clear.
manage the 1-year-old who is busy. He is definitely that
Yeah.
quintessential second child who, the first one was so easy and angelic and just, was you put him in the spot, you came back in 5 minutes and he's in that same spot. No. Andrew is so energetic and curious. He's the one that if I turn my back, I turn around and he's on top of the table.
Mhm.
Uh, so we watch him closely,
Yeah.
and we only do school for the mornings. So we only do from about 9 to 12 because you can fit a lot in that when it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
And then when everybody has lunch and he goes down for his nap at 1, and then we give everybody a break, and
Mhm.
then we're back out. He's back up and we're running again in the afternoon. So, work is different. I don't have an 8 to 5 schedule, but I never really had an 8 to 5 schedule. It's always, super early and you're kind of doing things in the middle. When I traveled with my son.
Mhm.
I was a nursing mom,
Mhm.
and about half of the trips, I took about 25 trips in the last year and a half before COVID. About half of those he came with me.
Mhm.
And so he's a seasoned flyer.
Mhm.
But he would come, we would figure out the schedule. Sometimes my husband would come along with my older son, sometimes a mom or a nanny. But we made it work, and we could have had this whole conversation 6 months ago, and it was still working and being a parent and figuring out how to make that work in
Yeah.
such a very different way for me. I was the one that was like, okay, I need to take a break from this meeting because I need to go pump, or I need to go, visit a kid. I've had my family with me and them all get sick on the road.
Oh my God.
uh, I've had that happen a couple times. It happened. They got my husband and my oldest son when I was pregnant. We were in Florida for an extended conference, and they both got the flu.
Oh,
And so I was going from the hotel to the convention hall, and I would come back to administer drugs and make sure people were eating and drinking, and then also trying not to get sick because here I was 6 months pregnant
right.
and working, like we're here for me to work.
Right.
So
Oh,
I have learned lots of tips and trips. I love Shipped.
really?
I mean, the one greatest thing that I tell people about COVID that is done for parents is the expansion of delivery service,
Mhm.
of pickup service. We have needed this all of this time.
Yeah.
And in our local area, haven't had it in the way that it is now. I save so much time from just, order it online, have it delivered, pick it up, and keep it moving. And that is, I mean, for the parenting, that has really made life a lot easier to balance. So I'm all about the delegating.
That's an awesome tip, actually, because I think a lot of people wouldn't have tried those things if they hadn't been
Yes,
forced into it in
right. And lots of them are free. So go use them.
yeah,
I
try
mean,
it.
I started using when it first came to our market. And because I'd used it when I was traveling with the kids before, and was like, oh, this is amazing. I can't wait for it to come to home. And so when it came, I was, singing its praises all around. And that was when I was pregnant. And so I was like, listen, I don't have the desire to walk through a store.
Mhm.
um,
Right. Right.
so we're going to use it. And I was pregnant over the winter time. So it was like perfect. But then when Target started Drive Up, and now you can do Aldi's Drive Up, and Kroger and Walmart and all of those, if they do charge, the charge is low,
Yeah.
and it's worth the time. Like, think about how much you could get done in that hour that you're not walking around the grocery store.
Mhm. Mhm.
A lot.
That's a big trade-off. An
Yeah,
hour is a huge
huge.
trade-off.
It's
Yeah.
huge. So the other thing I've done, and I know I'm kind of jumping ahead, but the other tip that I have been doing is I have started using laundry service, and laundry service has changed my life.
Okay, so tell me about this. They pick up dirty laundry and deliver clean laundry?
Yes, folded and ready to be put into the drawer.
What?
Yes. It is amazing. Like, I always thought that this was, laundry service was for the well-to-do,
Right.
and who, like, I can do my own laundry. And when it was my husband and myself, or just myself,
Yeah.
sure, you can.
Yeah.
But I have children who go through multiple outfits a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm sure, a lot of other parents do. And so what happens is it piles up, even though we're at home, it still is multiplying, and then I'm frustrated because it's in the way or I don't have time to get to it. So finally I broke down as we were starting to go into my launch process and was like, I just really need help. And I'm just going to delegate, like I tell my businesses to do,
Mhm.
hire someone. And
Mhm.
we did. And
Mhm.
it changed my life. I was like grinning for the next 24 hours after the first time she came. I was just like, it's all done. It's all, if you want to tell a child to go get dressed, they're not like, I don't have anything. Yes, you
Oh,
do.
we have
It's
that
in the
conversation.
drawer.
Yeah.
It's in
Wow.
the drawer and it's folded. When I want to get ready, everything's ready to go. And so there's a couple different services that I vetted. I'm still testing out vendors. The one I have now, she comes and she does like a same day service.
Mhm.
I'm going to test out another one that's like 24-hour service. But yeah, essentially you back up the clothes, they come pick them up from the porch. I know people are like, oh, my intimates. I don't send intimates.
Mhm.
I just send everything else.
Yeah.
You can decide, and give your preferences for laundry detergent and all of those kind of things. I just decided just to buy a separate one for that purpose. And I was like, this is what we want, I want to use because my kids have sensitive skin
Mhm.
and they're off to the races and it just comes back and you're just,
Sounds all neat and
yes. Oh, it was still warm
oh
even,
my
but
God.
all like retail folded. So you just get this feeling like everything's nice and fresh and
Yeah.
organized. You feel like you did the laundry. I felt like I had done the laundry,
Mhm.
but it was just ready to go, put away. And that simple thing really changed the mood around my house. Just
Mhm.
because I wasn't stressed, right? I wasn't feeling like I was behind on one more thing. It was, I feel refreshed. The space is now easier to organize. It kind of kicked off this big kick for me. I'm like, what else can we delegate?
Right. Right.
Um, but and that was the thing. Next thing, my next thing up is I know we're at home for COVID, but I'm going to hire a cleaning service because
Mhm.
why? I don't have time,
Mhm.
and there's no reason for me to beat myself up when it needs to be done. If it was a business or you run your house like a business, if you
Right.
needed someone with a specialized skill, you'd contract for them.
Mhm.
So let's do that.
So why do we beat ourselves up? I mean, what?
I think I'm not even going to say that this is limited to moms. I think moms do it a lot more than dads, but I think that especially in this time that dads are spending more time around, they're feeling it just as much. I think that we just have this idea that we have to be everything, that if we let go of one thing, we're failing at it,
Mm.
as opposed to, and that's kind of looking at it from that personal view, like I have to be the one.
Mhm.
Um, when we look at it really, and some of these things kind of come out in my coaching, but when we look at it from a strategic standpoint,
Mhm.
the goal is that it gets done. You don't beat yourself up necessarily when you have dinner out, right? You're not like, I can't believe that Bob in the kitchen made us dinner.
Right.
You're just happy to have dinner.
Right.
You're like you're enjoying the experience. And if we applied that same logic to that person, that they love doing that, there's joy in the service folks, that they have joy and I'm providing them with income to live their lives, um, and live their lives in the way that they want to, with the flexibility that they want. uh, if we look at it strategically, it makes sense.
Mhm.
Be I would rather play a game with my sons than do the laundry,
Mhm.
but I have to choose. And so the way I kind of reconcile it and bring it back to the good feeling is, let's make the space to do the things I really love and that I really want to do, that are going to have an impact. My sons are not going to come back later and say, well, we wish you would have done more laundry.
Right.
They're just not. They're going to say, we love that time that we went out and played in the rain and jumped in the puddles.
Mhm.
Or we really appreciate the time that we got to play games with you or stay up late, and that you were in your best mood
Yeah.
because you weren't stressed.
Yes.
Some of it is those non-tangibles, the
Mhm.
mood. We got to stop beating ourselves up because that mood transcends and there's nowhere else to go right now
Yeah.
to get
It's
it
hard to have quality time when you're so worried.
together. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
The time becomes not quality because that
right.
stress is kind of in the back of your mind, like you
Eat
didn't
at
fold the
you.
laundry. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
So you've woven your kids and your career together really this whole time, but how do
Yes.
you feel like being a mom affected your career so far?
I think it affected because I knew before I started this journey, I knew I wanted it to be woven this way. And
Mhm.
so I had to be really um, deliberate in the roles that I've taken. Um, I kind of follow those same rules of when you're interviewing, you kind of leave personal life out of it because I want to see how and what a company believes about family going into it. There have been companies that have been a turnoff because they're not family focused and they don't recognize the value of that. I've left places for that purpose. If in nonprofit service, my life is service. And a lot of times it goes deep into the evenings and it takes weekend time. And that's time that belongs to my family. And I'm very cognizant of restoring them what is due to them because they make a lot of sacrifices for us that way. But if you, as an organization, don't support or celebrate that, don't recognize that it's necessary, we're not going to have a long relationship just because they come first. Someone said to me way back, right after I got married, and it was a good point. It was jobs will come and go. Your family is who you want to be there at the end. And you have to make the investment, you have to make the priority, and it's looked different at every organization, but it has been, when I worked primarily in an office and I didn't have a lot of late nights, it was just knowing that Tana wasn't going to work beyond the time because she needed to get home to her family. And in that, if you needed me in the evening, we had to plan ahead. And it's always been setting boundaries, and allowing some, not I don't do overdo it, but allowing my work family to interact and get to know my family,
Hmm.
because I think it's a lot easier when they have a name. It's not just, oh, Tana has a child. It's Tana has Alex, and Alex has these interests, and Alex is sick right now, but this is, how it interjects. Or even when I had a role where we had events like a 5K. And so Alex did a little video asking people to support the 5K.
Hmm.
The cause didn't necessarily affect us personally, and it certainly at his little age, he was only 3, didn't affect him, but he believed in it and he knew this is what mommy did for work and he thought it was important. And so we were able to share him that way. Uh, but I am very selective. There are certain things I know wouldn't work for me,
Hmm.
just because they don't have the flexibility,
Hmm.
and family comes first.
Yeah. What do you feel like you need around you to be your most creative self? And do you have those conditions in your life right now?
Um, First and foremost, the amazing partner that I have. And he was a former colleague of yours. And
Mhm.
um, I think it's so, for those who don't know, both my husband and I have worked with Marti. And so we
Yes.
love her.
Small world. Yes.
But I think, having the space to be creative, like to know when I do have a late night that someone's got it,
Mhm.
and that I, don't have to worry about, are the kids getting fed? Are they being snuggled? Is someone telling them that they love them? Is someone making sure I get to say good night, especially when he's traveling lots of nights? Is someone making sure that they call me and interrupt whatever I'm doing in case I get distracted? um, because then I feel free, because that mom job, that wife job really are the top two things in my life. Knowing that they're covered makes it so that I can go out and raise millions and, speak to people, uh, kind of as you alluded to above, that with that attitude of peace, that
Yes.
I'm not stressed. Um, I think the other thing is that I need to be doing work that matters. And so I've been very strategic in making sure that the work that I do matters, and it makes me be creative. It gives me ideas and I get giddy and excited about, helping others. Um, and then, I need a good challenge to if everything's status quo, I am going to be bored out my
Yeah.
gourd, is what I say. I need a challenge. I need a problem to solve. And that really just brings me alive. You want to get, you come to me and you're like, hey, Tana, we don't know how to do this, such and such. Then it's like off to the races. And my desk starts looking like this with Post-its, with ideas. And I'm like, oh, we could do
Yeah.
and I get really excited. So those are things that support my creativity these days.
Mhm. That's great because I think a lot of, especially moms out there, are trying to figure out how to get back to that creative feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there something that you and your family have started to do that's becoming a new tradition for you now that you're home and you're together so much?
We have started Friday movie nights.
Mhm.
So that's a big thing.
Mhm.
It's a special, we had started with projecting them on the wall, like kind
Oh,
of like
fun.
drive-in movie. So we do that
Yeah.
sometimes. And then my son has lost interest in that because it's been a long quarantine. So, but we do still watch every Friday, and it rotates who gets to select the movies. Um, we are we actually have been way more scheduled
Mm,
now. I mean, we're a little bit more lax on like you don't have, we don't have to leave the house in the morning, so you don't have to be in bed by 8 o'clock.
yeah.
But really kind of giving the kids that consistency
Mhm.
has been helpful to us. Anyone who's had a toddler knows that, we're kind of at a place where lots of things are happening developmentally. And so we're just trying to make sure that he's getting enough rest, but that he knows what to expect. Um, I think with so much uncertainty,
Mhm.
routine helps us all. And then we always push it off on the kids and say, oh, well, kids need routine. Grown-ups need routine too.
Yes.
And so that has helped. And also allowing ourselves kind of this freedom to say, I don't have the time to do that. Like, I know we're at home all the time, but I literally don't have the time to do that.
Yeah.
And that being okay, when you're talking about introducing a new expense during COVID and or, launching a business,
Mhm.
there could be reason why that doesn't make sense.
Right.
But at the end, it is giving our self space to really ask for what we need. And I think that we were in a very busy space before and not necessarily focused on saying this is what we need to be successful.
Yeah.
So we're kind of taking that step back to reevaluate and give ourselves that. And something that my husband and I just started this month is that we are allowing each other to take a reprieve
Mm.
every quarter. Like I said, we had not been away from our children. We don't, because our parents are in that kind of really high risk age group, we lost our babysitters.
Yeah.
And so we've been very careful not to, put our kids at risk or our parents at risk and that kind of thing. But that means that we have been with our children 24 hours a day for a very long time. And right after, COVID started, we were supposed to take our first trip by ourselves since the new baby has come,
Uh-huh.
and that got canceled.
Ooh,
So,
that's a blow.
and we were ready, like we needed it.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we book a modest hotel.
Mhm.
For us, it was Embassy Suites. And I was gone for 3 days and 2 nights. And then the next week, he was gone for 3 days and 2 nights, just to give ourselves a chance to like have quiet,
Yeah.
to reset and just have some space. And that was amazing.
Mm.
Right now, rooms are really inexpensive because the hotel industry needs people to come stay.
Mhm.
I cannot recommend it more,
Mhm.
because I think it's just, I had time just to be Tana. Like, I wasn't Tana wife, Tana mom, Tana business owner, Tana colleague. I was Tana who is picking up her food order at North Star.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and that's all the Tana I have to be today. And that was great.
Yeah.
So I think that finding ways to find your quiet, because I'm struggling in my self-care,
Mhm.
to figure out, my thing used to be to go get a massage once a month.
Mhm.
I can't do that.
Mhm.
I mean, I can, but I don't feel comfortable
Right,
doing
right.
it. And so then what's the thing? Weather's changing, so my walks are going to be shorter.
Mhm.
Where am I going to find that time? So I'm still working on it. And, I'm free to admit that I don't have a full on answer for that. But,
Yeah.
sometimes I just linger when I go to pick up my Target order. Uh, or I take the long way to
Yeah,
get there.
yeah,
Uh, but it's self-care is definitely different
yeah.
um, now. So
Well, you touched a little bit on the uncertainty and this long
mhm,
quarantine, and I think that's why
yeah,
self-care is so crucial because
yeah.
this isn't probably ending anytime soon. And we talked about this
No,
before we turned on the show. So
yes,
tell me your thoughts on that, like the length of this and the predictions
yeah.
and things like that.
So kind of to give it a little context, I come from working in rare disease for the last 5 or 6 years. That's kind of been where I've hung my hat, and most recently, I worked with a population that was very vulnerable. It's a condition that is terminal
Mhm.
for those that have it. And so, in that, I going into this, I was there and um, very protective of those folks. And so, you start to consider how are we going to prepare our families
Yeah,
for a pandemic
yeah,
that was not on the job description. So, we started to consider all of the things that go into it. And for me, it was looking at how people are responding. Our varied um, commitment to it, rollout of it, standards of it. It's going to take a while. And a lot of people came in and thought, oh, we could get through it fast and we'll be through it by summertime. Um, Not necessarily. So looking at how, and I worked very closely with people that develop drugs. So the process is lengthy. Science takes time. Vaccines have been developed much faster than, say, a long-term therapy for the disease state I was working in, but it still has a process. Going through trials. A lot of people don't understand about a clinical trial that there's 3 phases that they have to check. One, first is safety. Is it safe to give to people? And they kind of circumvented that some by piggybacking on the mechanism that's been used for other viruses. The second phase is to see if it actually works.
mhm,
Do we have the dosing right? And is it having an effect? And then the third phase is kind of that longer term extension of second phase to say, okay, is it working right if we switch these things, if we have more people? Um, and all of that takes time. You want it for a vaccine, you don't want to show efficacy just for a week. You
yeah,
need to show it over a course of time. And the challenge is that this drug or this, I'm sorry, disease keeps mutating. It's
mhm,
kind of like I mean, in that way, it is like the flu in that it can have different strains and it can change. And so you have a lot of people trying to figure out how do you cover the key points, key components, key areas for it, but they also have to understand the disease first
mhm,
to do that. So there's just a lot of science that goes into it that helped me inform my folks. It's going to be a while. For the most vulnerable in our communities, it is going to be well into next year, probably the following, before you feel comfortable going anywhere. Um, as the vaccine rolls out, and I've seen, been following a lot of this. There's a lot of articles out about how the rollout of a vaccine would happen.
mhm,
This isn't like a new movie and you're going to roll up to the movie theater and just millions of people are going to be able to access it. It will be a staged approach. There will be a plan. So it could take months. Once something's approved, months both to develop, like manufacture the drug itself to
mhm,
the capacity that they need, and then months to distribute it. And so you're talking about a 6-month process, and you still have to get people there to
mhm.
take it.
Yes.
So, once you have the vaccine, it will slow things down considerably, but
Mhm,
it won't kind of be gone or to like a really small thing for another year after you have a vaccine. And so, kind of just planning around life is going to be different
Yeah.
for a long while. It won't necessarily be lockdowns and things, the numbers won't be crazy like we're getting kind of going into, but it's going to take some time. And science, unfortunately, this was the hardest thing about my job. My previous role was explaining science takes time. It does not respond to our desires for speed.
Yeah.
It's just not how it works.
Mhm. So right now, if you had to put sort of one idea on a t-shirt for working moms, what would the t-shirt say?
Grace,
Mm.
give
Mhm.
yourself grace.
Yeah.
You're doing a great job. You know, I tell my friends all the time, did you keep them alive today?
Mhm.
Great. Then you did a great job. That when it comes down to it, they got fed, they have a safe place to be. You're doing a great job.
Mhm.
That's this year, and we talked a little bit before show. This year is a wash. Like we gotta kind of release some of the expectations of what it could be, and it does send us into a grieving process, which is really hard because we're all grieving at the same time, and grief is not rational, and it kind of ebbs and flows, and so it can bring anxiety, and it can bring anger, and it can bring frustration. But give yourself some grace. You didn't have a good morning. Well, you could try to have a good afternoon. You didn't have a good day. All right, we'll try tomorrow. It's not been a great week. Try again next week. I mean, we have to give ourselves the room to be human, to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, and to, apologize, pick ourselves up and try again the next time. So
Mhm. Oh my gosh, that's such a good sentiment. I was even thinking about that, in my own day, just today, that
yes,
there
yes,
were hours of the day today where that grace is really the only thing I could give myself because I
yeah,
wasn't quite hitting
yeah,
what I thought the bar should be.
right.
Well, I really appreciate this because I think your
Thank you.
perspective helps working moms just,
Oh, thank you.
I love the delegation idea. I love the idea of grace. I love the reality talk of we're in this for a while because honestly
Yeah, yeah,
that changes the notion of self-care from, you know, um, sleep in to
right.
the 3-day weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
gives us a scale to
Yep,
understand. So
exactly.
super, super great insights.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you again sometime soon.
Certainly. Thanks, Marty.
Okay. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.